Behaving the individual family statements, please. You have a call in this moment from Councillor Jones. Councillor Portman. Yeah. Councillor Richardson.
Present.
Councillor Carney. Councillor Levin. Councillor Clark. Yeah. Councillor Lennox.
On it here.
Councillor Kyle. Bob. Can see you online, but I can't hear you. Back to you, Councillor Watts.
I'm hearing.
Councillor Stewart.
I'm here, Lynn, for the record. I'm in my car, but I'm in Buchanan Street car park. Parked up.
Thanks, Councillor Stewart and Councillor Hall.
Yeah, I'm here, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Thank you. Thank you very much, and I'd like to welcome the reports meeting Martin Robertson, the acting teacher to the academy. Having the opportunity to remember on this department was 7-8. And now I'm mindful of this. Needs to be 1-7, which actually is a good target to get up to the end 6. Please help. So first point, interest.
Obviously made it clear in lists. So we have some of the school reports, so some of the names of the schools. Some of them between
Please.
Yeah, can I just say that the sound that's coming via online is extremely tinny and distant. You're sounding very, very far away. And I think we're all having issues in hearing what you're actually saying.
The next that same view.
Yeah, sorry, it's the same for me. It's not really workable at this end.
Help. Does it make any difference if you wear headphones?
We can try.
And
Oh, you've got louder now.
Is that it fixed? Is that better?
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Yeah. And Councillor Stewart, can you hear okay? Councillor
Yep,
Stewart, can you hear? Yeah. Yeah.
Yep, perfect.
Councillor Hull, can you hear all right?
Yep, I can hear you loud and clear now, thank you.
Okay, right. I think we're good. We're good to go then. So minutes of the previous meeting. This is the meeting on the 7th of March. Could we have an approval of those minutes, please? Yep. Everybody happy? Yep. Any comments from those attending remotely? No. Okay. sorry. We're on to the first item. So this is item number 3 on our agenda, the 22-23 statutory performance indicators and local government benchmarking framework. And I'm going to pass it over to Ian Tough for this. Thank you, Ian. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. Good morning, members, and thanks, Chair, as well for accommodating the change to the agenda to let us away by a particular time. So it's much appreciated. Thank you. So this first paper from me is the 2022-23 SPIs and LGBF, Local Government Benchmarking Framework. So just by way of a short introduction to the detail of the paper, we present both of these sets of performance measures together because they are connected. But the SPIs are effectively the council's performance indicators. The local government benchmarking framework is the national framework that the council participates in and gives us that comparative information on performance across all councils in Scotland for a number of indicators. Not all indicators, though, are covered by all councils. So that's the distinction between the two. The SPIs are the councils, the LGBF is still council performance, but it is the comparative measure across all Scottish councils. So what we've presented here today, Chair, is firstly from paragraph 9 onwards, you'll see we have performance information on the council statutory performance indicators. This is a bit dated, as you'll see, it's the 2022-23 data. But what we've provided here today is just 4 of the 55 indicators. That's because at the last time of presenting these indicators, you'll recall we have the large performance session in September of each year with the CPP board, as well as all elected members. And at that time, not all indicators are available. So what we present here is the complete picture. So those 4 indicators that weren't available in September are now presented here, and that gives that complete picture of the SPIs for that reporting period. So you'll see from paragraphs 11 onwards the nature of those indicators. So there's an indicator there on winter maintenance. There's one in planning applications. The next one is on destination of school leavers, and that's from paragraph 20 onwards. And then lastly, educational attainment. So that's the 4 indicators. And as I said, for completeness, that's that suite of SPIs now complete, and that will be published on our website as well. The next part of the report from paragraph 34 onwards, Chair, is the local government benchmarking framework indicators for that same period, the 2022-23 period. So there are many more LGBF indicators than there are SPIs, over 100. And at paragraph 36, we just say that these are the ones that are initially published by the Improvement Service on the 1st of March. So they have an online portal that they publish all of this information on. We then extract what we need from it and present it back here for elected members' consideration. Again, since writing this report, in fact, just the other day, we received confirmation that a further 13 indicators have now been prepared and published. So what we have today will be updated again. It wasn't possible to reflect those new indicators into this position. So with paragraph 39, Chair, you'll see that of the 108 LGBF indicators, there are results for 84 of them contained within this paper. With regard to the council, then 52.4% of the performance indicators for which data is available appear in the top 2 quartiles. So in other words, we are the quartiles are, so the top 2 and the bottom 2 are how we manage where we sit comparatively as well. So being in the top 2 quartiles for more than 50% of our indicators is a positive sign for us. A full list of those indicators, but categorised against some key headings, is listed in Appendix 1 to the report. At paragraph 41, we just note that 19 of the LGBF indicators appeared in the 1st quartile, so that's the highest performing quartile for Scottish councils. And 13 of them were ranked in the top 5 in Scotland. So of all the councils in Scotland, 13 of our indicators were in that top 5 bracket, and they're listed in the bullet points at paragraph 41. Chair, Appendix 2, and this is a really busy and complicated and a very detailed appendix, so I wasn't proposing to go through it, but clearly it presents a lot of information about each individual indicator. So you can see again that in paragraph 43, we just summarise some of that. We've seen an improving, maintaining performance in 53.7% of our indicators. And then if you take that longer term trend information, so going back to our baseline year, which is 2010-11, then you can see that we've actually improved in terms of 67% of our indicators. So again, really, really strong performance and something that we're really pleased about. At paragraph 44, we list the indicators that are detailed in Appendix 3. And Appendix 3 is the list of indicators that are in the bottom quartile. So we have 26 indicators that are appearing in the bottom quartile. And again, those bullets at paragraph 44 just list those indicators. Chair, I appreciate that there is a lot of information here. A lot of the performance-related questions that members may have clearly will be quite specific to some of those indicators. So there are colleagues here as well from services that may be able to help with some of that. And also James Campbell, my colleague who coordinates and manages the SPI LGBF activity for the council, is with me today as well from my team. So happy to take any questions, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much for all of that. And there's obviously a lot of data that goes into compiling this this report. I've got one specific query that I wish to raise, but one general observation, and this relates to Appendix 1, which to me, when I'm looking at this huge amount of data, I suppose to me, Appendix 1 that's on page 17 of the papers. That's the one that to me looked most useful, where we look at where we're sitting, which quartile we're actually sitting in. And I would then look at the third and fourth quartiles. And those are the ones that I would tend to focus on to see what we're doing there and what we could improve on. And some of those, I guess, will be quite hefty matters, some perhaps that we would deem to be less important, but some commentary on that would be appreciated. Thank you. But the specific one that I wanted to raise is paragraph 19. This is on page 9, destination of school leavers, and this, Linda, is perhaps one for you. And I think Councillor Mabon brought this one up a year ago when we were talking about the destination of school leavers. And I think your question then was, well, 3 months is good, but should we have records for 6 months or longer? Because that is perhaps really useful for us to know that our young people are going on to do good things. So that's one for you, Linda. And then my other general comment perhaps for you, Ian, in terms of the data. So perhaps Linda first. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And through you, Chair, and clearly remembering back to that commentary last year, in the interest of expediting this morning's meetings in regards to the departure of the Head of Corporate Support, we've actually bringing secondary school attainment where the leavers data is covered in more detail. So perhaps if members are agreeable, we could probably pick that up within our paper, if that's okay, because we'll go into further commentary about the breakdown of that 95.1% that might be helpful to members in understanding the context behind that. So yeah, happy to take that there if members and you are, Chair.
Thank you. Yes, and then over to you.
Thanks, Chair. And just on your point around quartiles 3 and 4, so Appendix 1, I think, is a helpful summary. It breaks that down quite nicely for elected members, so you can see at a glance the groupings of the indicators, not each individual indicator themselves, but how they group against particular parts of the service. But I think your point, Chair, was around quartiles 3 and 4. And as I said in my introductory comments, quartile 4, we actually separate out and provide that additional contextual information and a bit of a description from services around the indicators that are the worst performing ones for the council, and that's the 4th quartile. So Appendix 3 goes into some considerable detail on each one of those. And members clearly will be interested in mostly where we are looking to recover the position in terms of them and move us up those tables, but also just some of the mitigating factors that apply to those indicators and some of the activity that services are putting in place to try and shift that performance in those indicators. The issue with the local government benchmarking framework is, as I often say to members, is remember this is a comparative set of indicators. So as much as we might introduce some improvements to services, if every other council does the same, the likelihood is we will probably still say the same. So it's how you then do something different from other councils to move us on. So that's just the nature of the LGBF, where it is a comparative measure. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much, Ian. And are there any questions, please? Does anybody want to come in? Anybody online?
Councillor Canning.
Councillor Canning, thank you.
Thanks, Chair. What's this, Linda? Linda again. I have a couple of questions actually, but the first one was paragraph 32 on page 11. Is the fact that we've got the highest percentage of S4 leavers in the last 9 years and the lowest percentage of S6 leavers, is there a reason for that? I mean, it doesn't sound positive, but that may be incorrect.
Yeah, there are absolutely are reasons to that, Councillor Canning, that again, if through members and through you, Chair, if you're happy to, we'll explore further in the secondary school leaver attainment data, where we further break that down, if that's okay.
If you're happy with that, yes, thank you both. Yep. Another, yep, go on.
So there's one more just on page 12, paragraph 41. Obviously the ones that were the top 13, most of them are fairly self-explanatory, but the first one, education average total tariff, SIMD quintile 1, again, maybe that's picked up later as well in that report.
It's actually not picked up in that report, Councillor Canning. So if you don't mind, I'll cover that here, if that's okay, again through you, Chair.
Yes.
So ultimately, the move in that particular quintile 1. So quintile 1, again, it's too early in the morning for incredibly difficult maths, but quintile 1 covers SIMD 1 and SIMD 2. So these are our most deprived young people, and ultimately the positioning now is that we are fifth in Scotland in terms of how well those young people are actually doing. So clearly we're absolutely delighted to see the positive move that you'll see reflected in the SPI tables there, moving us up into that position. That increase in total tariff points for these young people is something that really brings us great delight in terms of making sure that our most deprived young people have got the same chances to that extent in terms of the whole notion around closing the poverty-related attainment gap. So we're clearly delighted to see us positioned there in terms of getting these young people the outcomes that they so rightly deserve.
Sure. I mean, it was more of the total tariff. What does it mean? I mean, it sounds...
Okay, so total tariff, actually, Councillor Cogley will be covered in the secondary school leaver attainment data. It's in one of the appendices and it lets you know what each of the exams are worth, etc., in building up that profile of total tariff. So I'll maybe pick total tariff up there if that's okay, Councillor Canning, but to pick up the commentary, number one, it's really welcome. Thank you for pointing that one out, because it's one that we're clearly delighted with. But if it's okay, I'll pick total tariff up within the secondary leavers paper later on.
Yeah,
for you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thanks, yep, that's fine, thanks.
Councillor Richardson.
Councillor Richardson, thank you.
Thanks, Chair. I mean, there was loads of information when I was reading through this, but the one that caught my eye was point 92 on page 24, proportion of our people earning less than the living wage. Now, over the years, we've made great progress. I mean, way back in 2010, 2011, if I'm reading this right, 20.4% of East Ayrshire's workforce was earning less than the living wage, is that right? But then by the time you get to 2021, 2022, it's down to 9.2%. 22, 23, it's down to 8.7%. So it's moving in the right direction. In fact, 2021, 22, I think we were ranked 1 of 27. But we seem to have, the progress has slowed, if you know what I mean, because it's only come down from 9.2% to 8.7% between those 2 years. 21, 22, 22, 23. So although we made progress, it slowed. And then the last column, does that show that we've slipped back when compared against our peers? So I'm just wondering, is there any chance for councillors to get a wee bit more information drilling into that 8.7% just to find out what sections of our employees are still earning less than the living wage?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Councillor Richardson. Yes, for Richard, perhaps. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks, Councillor Richardson. I'm conscious that this probably touches on a range of colleagues' portfolios on around the table, but certainly from an economic development and growth perspective, I can assure members that discussions between the team and I in terms of the various interventions and improvement actions that are ongoing, many of which are detailed in the additional narrative around No One Left Behind, the Skills Investment Fund, Regional Skills Investment Plan. Will pick up all of these particular issues and touch on this as an area. So conscious that it's pretty detailed, I'm quite happy to speak to David and get some more narrative and circulate that for members' information. I don't know whether Ian wants to maybe touch on the sort of the way the data is collected and the narrative in that regard through you, Chair.
Ian, yes, thank you.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks, Councillor. So your interpretation of that, spot on. So that fluctuation going back to the baseline year and then the future years. So again, it comes back to the comment that I made earlier about the comparative nature of some of these. So as much as we moved from ranked first to ranked sixth, sometimes that is because of the movement of other councils and where we then sit in that comparative consideration. So, but your interpretation of that is spot on, and actually it's a useful way of picking out an indicator that demonstrates just those movements across time. So, a helpful one to pick up on. So, thanks for that. Yeah.
Councillor Mabon, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Just a couple I'd like to focus on for future is absence, sickness absence, days per employee teachers, and the one below it, it's in the appendix, paragraph 37, 38, sickness absence per employees non-teacher, and we've dropped a few ranks. Hopefully we can find out what other councils are perhaps doing differently that would maybe help us to try and get our absence down a wee bit so we can start moving up those ranks again. Another one I noticed was the...
Sorry, Councillor Mick, can I just interrupt you there? Can you just remind me which paragraph you're looking at, please?
It's Appendix 2, I'm at page 20.
Right, thank you.
Corporate services 37, 38. And moving further down was about the leisure services. The red, amber, green system's really good because it lets us find the red areas that we need to improvement, and there's quite a bit there in culture, leisure services. Paragraphs 56 down to 63. So we've dropped a few ranks in some of them. Hopefully we can make improvements there for future. And the last one I was thinking was further down again about climate change and stuff. The red, amber, green isn't there. I don't know if that's because it's new data. 104 to 108 on the same appendix, page 25. We don't have red, amber, green. I'm not sure why that is. Emissions 107, emissions from electricity per capita. I'm wondering how that would change now that we don't do electric charging for free, and if that is now serviced out to the contractors who are taking over that contract, and they will control our electric chargers in East Ayrshire, and they are charging now, and how the emissions stats would change for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mabon, for both of those. Ian, perhaps you would like to come in on the culture and leisure. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. Happy to do that, and maybe pick up your last point as well. So that is those columns, the red, amber, greens, not being available. So that's it, performance information that's not been published yet. So that's why that's not included in there. Your question around the detail of the measure and the impact of the charges is probably something we would take back to the service just to get a bit of clarity on that. But we could bring that back to you, circulate it to our members. On culture and leisure, you do mention the underperforming areas there. And so if you look at the rank column under 2022-23, there are a number of those indicators are in the bottom quartile. So if you were to go to Appendix 3, there will be a description for those particular indicators. So I think that's indicator 57, 60 and 61 are bottom quartile. Within there, you will find some of that mitigation, some of the actions that Culture and Leisure Services are taking to do that without getting into the detail, Chair. And I think your first point, Councillor Maben, I think Amanda's going to cover that around the absence levels. Sorry, Richard,
Richard, are you going to come in first and then Amanda as well afterwards? Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. Apologies for causing confusion, colleagues. Now, it's just to add to that in terms of culture and leisure, and just to inform members that this performance narrative also feeds into the current leisure and cultural review. Clearly, there's some significant challenges as has been picked up within the narrative at the back, particularly around use of libraries and spaces like this post-COVID, and the way these services is being delivered and will be delivered in the future, as I say, is featuring quite significantly as part of that leisure and cultural review, which will come before members in June.
Thank you very much. Amanda, over to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. In relation to the absence, so these figures are from before we took the paper to Cabinet last August, where we did the very deep dive into absence. So just as a quick kind of overview, we are doing a deep dive. We are in national groups where there's representatives for all councils. There is no silver bullet out there that there's anything that MD's doing differently from us. One of the things that's factored into this as well is there was a change in how we collated the stats. So all councils were brought in line so that we're collating the same. For us, that meant a bit of an increase. For some, that meant a bit of a reduction as well. So it isn't an actual on-the-ground change. We are currently, we had employed an additional temporary resource within my service who's going out within the services just to do that, finding out what's happening, make sure there's consistency. She's currently within facilities and property management, and I don't want to tempt fate, but the absence rates have reduced in there since she's went in, and the team's found it helpful. So we're doing more training, we're doing more analysis, we're doing a deeper dive in to these, looking at the councils who have improved. Are they doing something different? Then it's out with the policy as well. So we are proactively looking at it, and we'll update members as we go along through East Ayrshire Performs, and we'll do a review when we've 1 year on about August time to Cabinet.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm going to suggest, if there are any further questions in relation to this item, that we perhaps email Ian, if that's all right with everybody, so that we can actually move on to item number 5, please. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. That's much appreciated again. So item 5 is, so as if it wasn't complicated enough trying to explain the difference between SPIs and LGBF in the last report, this report is now just about the Council's statutory performance indicators. And this is the outcome of a bit of work that we've done to review our suite of performance indicators. So from the year 2024-25, these will be the new set of indicators that we will be measuring. So there's a bit of a time lag between these. As I said, the last report was looking back at actual performance. This is looking forward a wee bit to see that the suite of performance indicators that we have is still current, still up to date, and still delivering the intended purposes for elected members to understand the performance of the council, but also for services to work towards. So again, thanks to James for the work he's done on this over the last 6 months, working with services, working with internal audit, working across the council on reviewing this suite of indicators. So The SPIs, we have a statutory duty to have a suite of SPIs that complies with the Accounts Commission direction that was last issued in 2020. We have a suite of indicators that does that, but within that we knew that we had to look at some particular areas. So for members that are interested, paragraph 14, that's where we describe the changes to the suite. So following that review work, we have kept the majority of the performance indicators. We think they are still relevant and still meaningful, but there have been some ins and some outs. So you'll see that there's a small table there that summarises those changes. We are removing 3 indicators, and we are including new indicators. Some of them are to replace the ones we're removing with slightly subtle, perhaps, variation on the description of the indicator, and some are brand new. At paragraph 15, we just include details of those indicators that are either changing or being added. And in the appendix, those changes again are highlighted for ease of reference for elected members. It's probably worth just noting that the main issue and the area that has now got new indicators with completely new ones that have not been reported to elected members previously, certainly not through our SPIs, relate to business support. And the last 2 indicators on the appendix, they are now numbered SPIs 55 and 56, relate to business support, number of new businesses and employability. So they were identified as gaps for us, and from 24-25 onwards, that they will now be included in our SPIs. Those measures were probably already being collected by services as terms of management information, but we think now it's appropriate that they are included in the suite of indicators. So with those comments, Chair, happy to take any questions on that one. Thanks.
Thank you, Ian, very much for that. And sorry, my error, I introduced that as item 5. It is actually item 4. So are there any questions about that? Thank you. And from anybody online? No. Thank you. So now we move on to item 5 on the agenda, the review of the local code of corporate governance. So this is pages 60 to 88 in your papers. Thank you.
Thanks again, Chair. So the third item from myself, and this is an item that members will be familiar with. This is the annual review of our local code of corporate governance. Traditionally always comes to the April meeting of Governance and Scrutiny Committee, and there are 3 main parts to this report. So the first part is a look back. Last year when members approved this report, they included within that an improvement action plan, which we've worked towards over the last year. So Appendix 1 is a look back and a progress position statement on each of those improvement actions. You'll see if you go to Appendix 1 that there's really good progress against all of those indicators, apart from one, which was really out with our control. It's not in the gift of the Council, and that was the progress against the National Care Service Review, which has not progressed at a national level, and therefore our position against that locally has been limited. The second part of the report is, the bulk of the actual covering report then describes some of those high-level achievements that we've had over the last year, and members will see a description of everything from the community plan, the strategic framework, right through to best value audit work as well. So the best value audit work, clearly again, members will be familiar with this, particularly the thematic, the work that colleagues from External Audit reported to you in October last year. That was the theme around about strategic direction leadership, and there were some improvement actions related to that work. So they're captured at paragraph 30, and they are also reflected in the improvement action plan recommended to members today for the coming year as well. So as I said, the second main part of this report is to provide to elected members a draft annual governance statement. So the annual governance statement is effectively the description of the council's arrangements for our governance arrangements. It also includes the chief auditor opinion. I know Ailey today will cover some of that in her reports when you get to those items on your agenda. And the governance statement, importantly, also provides the front end to the annual accounts. So those statements around our governance inform the annual accounts and go hand in hand with the work that Joe and finance colleagues do around that suite of reports as well. And then last thing, sorry, just within that as well, there's a couple of wee bits of detail that we're just still finalising there around dates, etc., that have been picked up by Councillor Canning and others. So thanks for that. And we'll just make sure that that's bang up to date before it is published with the accounts. And then lastly, the Appendix 3 to the report is the improvement action plan that we're recommending to elected members today that we put in place for the activity for the coming year. And as I said, some of that is continuing work for us, so you would always expect an improvement plan like that to feature on progress against the strategic framework that we have, the strategic plan, the community plan, etc. But we've also included a couple of additional new items in there as well. Richard mentioned the review that's underway around leisure and cultural services, and at item 3 in Appendix 3 on page 85, you'll see reference to all of those cross-cutting reviews, including the leisure one that was mentioned earlier. So that's the reviews that are ongoing around employability, financial inclusion, well-being, children and young people services and leisure. We've also included I mentioned the work that External Audit Scotland and Louisa and colleagues work with us very closely on that. So at number 7 in the action plan, you'll see the Audit Scotland Workforce Innovation Best Value Thematic work. That's work that's currently ongoing. It's not been reported yet. It's very close to Amanda's portfolio, and that will be coming back to this committee, I'm sure, at a future meeting. We've also included reference to the corporate risk management strategy. The next item that I'll speak on today is around presenting the risk management strategy. We've included it in the improvement plan as well, alongside work we are doing around data and analytics strategy. And then at number 11, you'll see the reference that I made earlier to the improvement work that relates to that, again, that best value theme of leadership and strategic priorities. And the last one to highlight is number 12 in that improvement plan at the bottom of page 86 of your papers. And that's some new work, new guidance that we are anticipating will be published. We've seen early copies of it, but the actual publication of it will be later this year. And that's the SIPFA assurance framework that we would want to take account of when we look at our governance and arrangements going forward. So thanks again, Chair, and again, happy to answer any questions on any of that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for that, Ian. And I can imagine that putting together and keeping on top of the strategic framework must be quite challenging when there are so many things that are outside of our control. And I guess looking at the one really big one in terms of the National Care Service, the delayed implementation of it, because the HR implications of that are absolutely enormous. So I can imagine it is quite difficult. It's an ever-moving Venn diagram, I'm sure. Thank you. So any questions? Councillor Stewart, thank you.
Yep, thanks, Chair. Thanks, Ian. I'm just looking to see, when would we be looking to see all the reviews coming back? What kind of timescale have we got for that, or have we got one as yet?
Thank you, Councillor Stewart.
No, yeah, thanks, Councillor Stewart. It's a topic of conversation at the moment across chief officers, council management team. So we are intending to bring a paper to Cabinet or full council. I think that's yet to be decided, but prior to the summer recess. So that those reports will be at different stages when we report them in June. And again, that report will reflect those different stages. Some are likely to be a bit more advanced than others, and some will have quite clear direction on perhaps recommendations that we'll be making to elected members. We want to also, at that time, when we do bring those cross-cutting reviews to elected members, probably also give a reflection on a position statement, on an interim position statement rather, on progress against the strategic plan, and it also coincides with the review of the community plan that's on the go. So all of that will be probably wrapped up into a suite of a package of papers that will be presented to elected members, hopefully before the summer recess. That's certainly the intention. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Ian. And just to follow up on that, perhaps you could remind us which papers we will be expecting by the time we get to, or which reviews we will be expecting by the time we get to the summer recess. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. So I expect there will be, as I said, at different stages, but each of the reviews, I think we would want to provide at least a progress update on each of those reviews, and that's the reviews that are listed at at page 85, and it's improvement action number 3, and it's those reviews around employability, financial inclusion, well-being, children and young people services and leisure. So as I said, Chair, they are all at different stages of preparedness and finalisation, but it is the intention to provide members with an update on all of them. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Any more questions?
Councillor Canning.
Councillor Canning, thank you.
Thanks, Chair. Just a quick one, really. Business continuity, which is obviously touched on here, and forgive me, I can't recall what reports we may or may not have seen around that. I'm just wondering, given the nature of that, whether a councillor conversation might be quite useful on that. Given the nature, it's not something, maybe.
Over to you. Yeah.
Thanks, Councillor Canning. Yeah, so there's reference in the narrative and the covering report to business continuity. So it's something that David Dorn and colleagues in health and safety, so they have a bit of an oversight of our business continuity arrangements. Quite sure they would be happy to bring something back to elected members on that range of work. Probably an interesting topic for a councillor conversation. So I know we've got some of them in the diary, some of them are already got items, subjects penciled against, but we'll see what else we could do. Yeah. Thanks.
Obviously the IT aspect as well, and obviously it's become more important. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Any further questions? Nope. Thank you. So I think we move on to item 6 now, please, the risk management strategy.
Thanks, Chair, and you will be glad this is my fourth and final report, and you'll be fed up listening to me, but this is a really important paper for the council, for elected members to consider. So I'm joined today by Emma Livingston as well, a recent member addition to our team, who's come in as our risk management coordinator and has really been organising a lot of this activity around our risk management strategy. So we have had a risk management strategy. This isn't a new thing for elected members, but it is an evolving bit of work for us. And what we're presenting here today is a new 3-year risk management strategy for approval. So without going into too much detail on what's in the appendix, which is the full document, but in terms of background, really just as a reminder that risk management is an integral part of the council's governance arrangements, supports our commitment to identifying and maintaining a positive approach to managing risk. The way the council manages the many and varied risks facing it contribute towards achieving our strategic objectives, our strategic priorities that are in our community plan and strategic plan. Importantly, as well, the risk management strategy includes, we love improvement plans. So of course, there's another improvement plan at the back of the risk management strategy. That's really going to be how we implement a lot of the practical arrangements that go alongside the actual high level strategy as well. And they're set out in the appendix to the appendix, if you follow my clumsy introduction to that one. The new strategy will also allow the council to understand and prioritise its risks. We do that already we bring to elected members, you'll be familiar through the East Ayrshire Performance reporting framework, that the risk register is a fundamental part of that approach, and that's one of the reports that the elected members get. So that by adopting a holistic approach to managing risk, that this strategy will also enable the efficient deployment of our resources and the proactive coordinated management of risks across the authority. As I said, this is an emerging area for us. One of the biggest areas that is of most prominence just now for us is around risk appetite, and probably moving towards a council that has more of an appetite around this than perhaps we previously had, just given the financial constraints that we are under, finding creative, innovative ways of doing things, and we need to have that built into the risk management strategy as well. We're also really grateful to the work of the Council's Strategic Risk Officers Group, which is chaired by the Chief Executive, the Council Management Team, and importantly, the National Forum through Internal Audit Chief Auditors that Ailey is very close to, and that SLACIAG group, as they're called, again, has been really influential in us reviewing our arrangements. So new risk management strategy, really important, and through East Ayrshire Performs, elected members will begin to see some of that, certainly in terms of presentation, how we report risk back to elected members into future. And as I said, Emma and myself happy to take any questions if you have any. Thanks.
Thank you very much for that, Ian. And I suppose there's a bit of me that wonders with this, is this just a different way of codifying or stating a lot of the stuff that we actually do already in any event, and perhaps a different way of reporting it. And to that end, I would wonder, at the risk of being a bit flippant here, what value it actually adds when we're looking at if this is stuff that we do actually already do. I then have a specific question in relation to paragraph 526 on page 109 in terms of demographic changes. So, but just in terms of my general observation, what actual value does this add?
So thanks, Chair. So rather than adding value, this is something, as I said, that is very much a foundation for all of our governance arrangements. So it's a long-standing commitment that we've had, that key focus around risk. We have to understand what the external environment is for us, how that affects the delivery of services, as well as what the internal risks for us are. So if you think to what is reported in East Ayrshire Performs in those categories of risk, everything from volatility in the economy right through to civil emergencies, emergency planning, these are really quite fundamental things to how the council delivers its services, how it reacts to perhaps emerging risks, and I need to remind no one on just the serious impact of the pandemic, and having those sorts of things featured in the risk management strategy, as I said, is absolutely fundamental to how we deliver services and how we structure our governance arrangements as well. So rather than adding value, I think it is building on a position of strength for us. I think it has been an area that we have always focused a lot of attention. This new strategy, and with the addition of Emma as a corporate resource, providing that support for services around this, I think is a really strong addition to our governance arrangements. Sorry, Chair, you had a second point.
Yes. One of the risks that is actually highlighted. So, first of all, in response to my initial rather flippant question, I completely get that, and that's obviously a massive reflection on the times that we're living in now and how the world has changed. The demographic changes that are massively or negatively impacting upon us in the southern part of our authority, clearly we need to be addressing that. some commentary on that, please. And also in terms of how we implement this and make all our staff aware of their responsibilities in relation to risk management. If you could respond to that at some point too, please. Thank you.
Yeah, of course, Chair, thanks. So the demographic one's a really interesting one. It's probably, you know, we've had conversations, we've rehearsed these in a number of forums recently, so it is something that's becoming more and more apparent to us just around that. If you project forward the implications for the council in terms of a reducing population, but an increasing older generation, and then within the council, some of those demographic changes at even ward level. So we are seeing that at a national picture, the shift in demography population across the country, but we're experiencing that at a local level too. And elected members, I know, are very interested in what that means for their own wards. So we've actually got one of those councillor conversations that we were talking about earlier that is actually dedicated to a sharing of some of that data, sharing of some of those demographic projections, which are really going to have a significant impact on the delivery of our services, never mind health and social care, but in terms of education and any number of other services going forward as well. So really interesting. The risk element for us, we have to understand that. So that's why it is seen as an emerging issue for capturing in our risk register, and something that Emma, myself and the Strategic Risk Officers Group are looking just to articulate a wee bit better. We are looking again to understand a bit better what that demographic change and population shift is going to mean for our services. So it really is a significant issue for us. And your comment around implementation. So as I said in my introductory remarks as well, Chair, we have an improvement plan to go alongside the strategy. You will see reference in that improvement plan to training for staff, to awareness raising, to any number of things that we think will deliver at a practical level, the implementation of the high level strategic direction that we want to take as well. So that's, in fact, when we shared the strategy with our insurers recently for a bit of a critical friend, they picked up on that as being really good practice, having that improvement plan as part of the strategy as well. So that was really reassuring as well. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Richard, yes, thank you.
Thanks, Chair. Just briefly to add to Ian's comments, members, I think from if Eddie were here, he'd want to reiterate how important this document is to us moving forward. Not only are we coming out of, as Ian has mentioned, really challenging times in terms of COVID and the ongoing cost of living crisis, poverty and inequalities agenda, etc., but local government, public services are facing unprecedented challenges moving forward. And therefore, it's really, really important that we understand risk and we use that information in order that we can provide members with the best possible professional advice in what will be some really challenging and difficult circumstances and decisions that we're going to be presenting, moving forward. So I think just to reiterate through you, Chair, the critical importance of this as a strategic piece of work which will underpin what we do and how we do it moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And are there any questions?
I'll meet again for Carney.
Thank you, Chair. Is that on? Page 98, there's one sentence confusing me. If somebody can clarify, 2.13. HM Treasury Orange Book, I don't know what that is, recommends that risks should be organised by taxonomies or categories. What's taxonomies? Is this about financial risk? No? Sorry.
Which paragraph?
213.
Thank you.
Page 98, 2.13.
So Emma might want to come in on this as well, but the HM Orange Book is a bit like the go-to reference point for guidance on risk management. So that's at a national level, UK level, HM Treasury Orange Book, and that's what informs a lot of what we have, the guidance that makes sure that we are complying with that. We'll probably give elected members that assurance that we're at a really strong position. The taxonomies is maybe, Emma, do you want to have a go at describing that to Councillor Mabin? Thanks.
Thank you, Emma. Is it working? Oh, it's rebooting.
Perhaps just to move things on, I think we can get a description, a definition of taxonomies for you, and we'll come back to you on that.
I think Linda's got a definition. Thank you, Linda.
Councillor Mabin, if it is as wide as the definition around about taxonomy, they apply in several settings in regards. So we have a particularly famous one in education known as Bloom's. So it's a hierarchical relationship between different criterion. So for example, that in terms of a young person, in terms of a need to thrive, clearly there's things like food and water, which are then dependent on, sleep is then dependent on it, learning is then dependent on those. So it's an interrelationship between different categories of defined areas of organisation, but it tends to have a rank system within it, with one being more important than the other. So, but there's also interconnections between them. So, Emma, I hope that was roughly where you were going, but just in terms of the definition of a taxonomy, they take hugely different forms, Councillor Mabin, dependent upon which context they're being applied to. If that's so, clearly there's been in this Orange Book, there will be interrelated dependencies with a ranking somewhere within as to that which is taken perhaps more seriously or more definitively than the other. So sorry, embracing my inner teacher this morning.
I think it was a very impressive one. Thank you. Thank you very much. Emma, I think you were let off that one quite lightly. Well done. And thank you, Councillor Mabin. Do you have any more questions?
Yeah, thank you. No, it was just the word treasury and then taxonomy just mixed me up because I thought I was getting into some kind of finance regime or something. All right, sorry.
Ian wants to come back in. Thank you.
I think Linda, I think Emma owes you one for that, so thanks. No, I was just going to say, actually, it's a helpful reminder that by the nature of some of these things, there is a lot of jargon in them, and perhaps when we are rolling out that learning, that training, etc., that we would want to just make sure that some of that is defined and clarified. So thanks, Councillor Mabin. Yep. Thanks, Chair.
Any further questions, Councillor Canning?
Just going back to Sally's point, and I think you hear often in this chamber talk about the demographics, the poor demographic projections for East Ayrshire. Well, recognising that there is a backdrop of across the country, the Western world, the demographics, is there a risk that we take those projections as a given and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy? You know, 10 years, who knows what's going to happen in 10 years? I mean, there's lots of things can happen. Is that a risk, you know, holistically as a council, that we take that as a given rather than a projection, well recognising we have to mitigate against it if it does happen? You know what I'm saying? You know, so there is a decline in demographics, but maybe East Ayrshire doesn't have to be as poor and could, you know, change given certainly.
Yes, I'll let Ian respond in a moment, but I guess the logical extension of that is that, having seen that that's an identified risk, are we as a council prepared to accept it, and do we want to change it? That I guess is over to us. But Ian, yeah, thank you.
Thanks. It's a really good point, and it reflects some of the conversations we are having as well. I think for me, there are 2 points to it. One is we need to understand it better, and I think some of those projections, we need to understand them a bit better. So I think you're absolutely right. We shouldn't accept that they can't be influenced. Having said that, if you listen to, and we've had Professor Graham Roy, Fiscal Commission and others provide information to us that actually says to actually shift some of that longer term is a really difficult thing to do, because that is some of the issues, the causal factors for some of the demographic changes are perhaps outwith the gift of a council or even a government in some respects as well. So we need to understand it better, but having understood it, we then need to have a clear direction of the things that we can do to try and influence it, the things that are in our gift about, you know, can we attract more people to the area? Can we rebalance the population profile of the area as well? Can we rebalance the geographic population profile of the area? So there are things that we think are in our gift that we can try and influence, but to do that, we need to understand it. And that's a bit of a journey we're on, I'll be honest. It's not helped by the fact that things like the census and others there's still a lag in getting some of that information through, so we don't yet have the total clarity around even the most recent research on that. But we are working closely with people like the Fiscal Commission, Professor Graham Roy and others. So I think with that and a real appetite to do some of this work, then I expect that conversation we'll have with elected members on demographic data, etc., will be a really interesting one. So yeah, thanks, Councillor Canny.
Yeah, that's what we expect, but it just seems sometimes we can be a bit negative as a group. But, yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Any further questions on item 6, risk management strategy? No,
None either.
no, and none remotely. No. Okay. Thank you very much. Well, I think that means that we've managed to do that reasonably well within the timing. Thank you very much. Thank you. And we are now going to move on to item 7 on the agenda, Doon Academy HMIE inspection reports. And I'd like to welcome to the meeting Martin Robertson, acting head teacher at Doon Academy, and also Jacqueline Beveridge, head teacher of Nether Robertland. Welcome both of you to the meeting. Thank you for joining us. So, Linda, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. And through you, Chair, thank you very much for your warm welcome to our acting head teacher, Martin Robertson from Doon Academy, and also to Jackie Beveridge from Nether Robertland Primary School. That it's warmly appreciated from all of us in education. So good morning, members. In respect of the first report from education with you this morning, this refers to the Doon Academy HMIE report. Clearly, members, in paragraph 1, the purpose of the report is to present the findings of a report by Education Scotland, His Majesty's Inspectorate for Education, following their inspection of Doon Academy. Members, in paragraph 2, the recommendations are listed through 1 through to 4 to note the publication of said report for Doon Academy, to clearly note the strengths of the school's work as well as the areas identified for improvement by inspectors, to note the next steps, and clearly, members, to note the contents of the report. Members, clearly inspection is rather technical in nature in terms of layout and process. So in background, paragraphs 3 through 7, members, we outline the aims of inspection. Clearly, this is an aspect at the moment that is undergoing significant reform in terms of potential determination of the current agency, Education Scotland, to be split into a scrutiny arm, if you like, and an advice and support arm. So an Education Scotland per se and an HMIE per se. So ultimately, members, this is the position as it currently stands. So paragraphs 3 through 7 explain the aims of inspection and some of the technical issues around this. So can I highlight in paragraph 7, there are 2 main types of inspections that schools can undergo. That's the full inspection model, which focuses on 4 quality indicators, or a short inspection model, which focuses on 2 quality indicators. In the case of Doon Academy, this was a short model inspection which focused on 2 indicators. Members, in paragraph 8, the models are aligned, the quality indicators are aligned with our key document driver in education, which is How Good Is Our School 4th edition, which was published in September 2015. Clearly also aligned with Higgy Elk, which is, you will see in the brackets there, which was published in February 2016. There are a suite of Higgius documents, including one called Wee Higgius, which is the one that we use with pupils. We haven't referenced in this particular report, but these are a suite of documents that are our guiding reference piece in terms of education quality assurance. In paragraph 8, members, you will see that the quality indicators that are evaluated in a short model inspection are 2.3, learning, teaching and assessment, and 3.2, which is raising attainment and achievement. Paragraph 13 members also paragraph 13 also outlines the care inspectorate piece in that particular vein. Members, paragraphs 9 through 12 outline the inspection process as to how an inspection is actually undertaken. So in paragraph 9, it explains the team makeup and how this is done. Clearly, the size of the team is dependent on the size of the school and the scale, whether it's a long or short model inspection. Clearly in paragraph 10, members, the inspectors undertake a range of activities over the course of inspection and indeed significant work in advance and after the inspection. Paragraph 11, the inspectors also take the opportunity to speak to groups and individuals around about the school, and also all inspections are preceded by a questionnaire which is issued to all staff, all pupils and parents. At the end of the inspection, the inspectors meet with the head teacher and the senior management team where there is one, and a representative from the local authority to share that dialogue around about the quality indicators that were being examined. Following that inspection, in paragraph 12, members, a letter for parents is published on the Education Scotland website and the Care Inspectorate website where that is appropriate, where an ECC is being inspected, members, and clearly then sent electronically to the Education Authority and the chairperson of the Parent Council. Where necessary, the school and the ECC, with support from the Education Authority, will amend its improvement plan to bring about improvements that the letter says is needed, and in some cases HMIE will carry out a continued engagement visit to support staff in making improvements or gather information about good practice. This is the case with this particular inspection, members, from the outset, so I will advise that Education Scotland will be maintaining contact with the school in this particular report. Moving on to the particular report as it pertains to Doon Academy, members, in paragraph 14, Doon Academy was inspected week beginning Monday the 11th of December, and I've already referenced that was using the short inspection model. Clearly in the short inspection model, members, only 2 quality indicators are evaluated. Quality indicator 2.3, learning, teaching and assessment, was evaluated as satisfactory, but quality indicator 3.2, raising attainment and achievement, was evaluated as weak. In paragraph 16, the inspection did find the following strengths in the school's work, and that was the head teacher and staff creating the caring and nurturing culture in the school. They have improved the environment for learning, which results in young people being calm and settled in classes. They also referenced the behaviour of the young people and that they are welcoming and polite, and they're keen to learn and work with the staff of the school. Clearly, in highlighting the aspects for of good practice, there were clearly several aspects around about need for school to improve in certain areas. In bullet point 1 in paragraph 17, it was highlighted that senior leaders and teachers need to make sure that the needs of all young people are met in classes, developing shared understanding of high quality teaching and learning, that teachers should explore ways to adapt their methodology to increase young people's motivation to learn and provide activities with the right amount of challenge. Also, that senior leaders and teachers must improve attainment for all young people with a particular focus, members, on numeracy. Teachers should track learners' progress across all stages and make sure young people and their parents understand the progress that they are making. Third bullet point in paragraph 17 outlines that senior leaders and teachers should ensure that they are offering suitable programmes of learning with a stronger focus on senior phase options. These programmes should allow all young people to maximise their learning and so therefore improve attainment for all. In paragraph 18, linking back to my previous commentary, members, inspectors reported that they will carry out a further inspection of the school within 1 year of the publication of the inspection report. So can I just be clear that the publication of the report was on the 19th of March 2024, so a revisit would be in 2025 for the avoidance of any doubt in that particular domain, members. Clearly in paragraph 19, I'm delighted to welcome Martin Robertson here today as the new acting head teacher of the school. We have significant progress already underway in the school to improve the key areas identified. The table in paragraph 19 outlines actions taken already in respect of learning, teaching and assessment, raising attainment and curriculum development, and other areas which the acting head teacher is leading on refreshed focus on raising expectation, ambition and determined to succeed. Members, clearly a key question for you will be around about how will the progress of the school be monitored in this particular regard, and the monitoring process is outlined for you in paragraph 20. There are regular and scheduled engagements with the school involving the Link Quality Improvement Officer, and in addition an enhanced quality improvement visit has been scheduled for the school for June 2024 to evaluate the impact of steps taken to date in description to the paragraph 19 in respect of a future inspection for the school. This visit will involve a team of colleagues involving central education officers, secondary head teachers from other secondary schools, and feedback will be further provided to the school leadership team on progress to date in advance of the HMIE return visit. I would ask members to note that progress is already underway to move forward with the areas identified in the report, and we are very confident that the changes described in paragraph 19 will indeed lead to improved outcomes for the young people of Doon Academy. Members, paragraph 21 highlights no implications in regards to the preparation of this report, and I'm happy to hand over for any comments or questions at that stage. Thank you, Chair.
Linda, thank you. Thank you very much for this and for this report. Just to confirm some of the dates here. So the inspection took place on the 11th of December. And Mr. Robertson is an acting head teacher, and I think it might be useful if you could confirm the dates that Mr. Robertson actually took over at the school. I'm sorry if I missed that. If you could confirm.
No, I'll get Martin just to firm that up. He's probably got a better recollection of that than me.
Have a confirmation that you will be in the school for some period of time, please. Thank you.
Yeah, just to confirm, I started in the school Monday, 4th of March. And I have a contract at the moment until the end of June, which will be reviewed at that time by Linda and her team.
Chair, to go back to your further question as to the time that Mr. Robertson is expected in school, we will likely seek to extend that time. It's clearly very difficult in the absence of the substantive post holder to know when the post holder, how long that he might be out of the school at the moment. But what I would say just now is that clearly we would want to give support to Mr. Robertson as acting head, and clearly the substantive head teacher, Kenny Riley, both during his absence and where he to return. So I think for the avoidance of any doubt, I would suspect that Mr. Robertson, subject to his further agreement, and he's already indicated this, will be in the school significantly longer than that timescale at this point in time to offer support in either way.
Thank you very much. And I'm going to, I will obviously have some questions myself, but I'm going to open this out to other members, and I can see that people, yes, can we, so perhaps Councillor Stewart, I can see would like to come in. And Councillor Stewart, I'm going to invite you to come in first, please. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. The report, I'm not going to lie, was hard reading. It highlighted things that needed fixed. And after visiting twice this week, I see an absolute noted difference in things that are happening within the school. It's really positive. There's new pathways for our young people. It was a lot calmer. The aesthetics were a bit better than it was when we visited with some cabinet members. And that's to be commended, that out of this, we've got to see the positive. We've got to move forward and let Martin do the job that he's been put in today. A lot of the young folk, I speak to them on the streets, and they're really happy with what's happening within the school, because there's a lot of contact with having assemblies, so they're getting took along with this this new way of working, and I think it's really going to be commended after the report that we've had that we've seen recently. So well done, Martin, for stepping in and getting it to where it is right now.
Thank you very much. I'm going to invite some of the other elected members to speak, and then perhaps Martin, you might want to respond, if that's all right. Councillor Hogg.
Yes, good morning. Just to reiterate, basically, what Councillor Stewart said about the reading of the report, yes, it was very disappointing, and to see our school not performing particularly well. But having visited along with elected members this week and seeing the difference already, and also the different pathways, skill sets that are being brought on board for the children of the school. It's really going to make a huge difference. The mood, the mentality all seems very lifted. There seems to be buy-in from all the teaching staff as well, which is huge, and all again from the general public, from the school attenders, also seems to be a big difference. We can only hope it will be augmented by a new build of our school, which I think will improve everything 100%. But in the interim, again, I think Martin coming in and has made a vast improvement with modern apprentices being discussed, etc. So I can't see Doon Academy not progressing. I think we will certainly be 100% better going forward, and that's really commendable to all the staff in Martin. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hogg. Councillor Richardson.
Thanks, Chair. It's possibly just a question for Linda and for Martin. I mean, as councillors, we in this chamber, we were delighted to see the paper a couple of months ago, maybe, about, you know, the positive destinations across the whole of East Ayrshire. And I think those positive destinations for our young people leaving secondary school were at their best they've ever been. Was that right, Linda? So obviously getting a flavour for Doon, it's just really a question to Linda and Martin as to how quickly do you think Doon can be raised to those levels so that they're on a parity with our, you know, our other secondaries? What's the time scale that Martin and Linda have got in mind for that?
At the moment, our aim for this summer is to have 100% of young people in a positive destination. That's what we're targeting for the summer. We had a meeting yesterday in the school with the school staff, with partners who work locally and support young people into positive destinations. And we've identified a number of young people who don't have a destination yet, and we have from now until around about September till the survey is finished to make sure they engage in education, training or volunteering in that time. So we're well aware of the young people who are planning to leave, and we have plans in place to get them into a destination. So that it looks really positive. The staff are really positive about it that we met with yesterday, that we can get provision for them.
Thank you very much. Councillor Canning.
Question for Linda, obviously. Excuse me. Apologies if my understanding is incorrect, but we have an internal inspection. It's called school improvement visit, or, you know, when was the last school improvement visit prior to the inspection for Doon Academy?
So depending on the definition of the school improvement visit, we visit Doon twice a year to review their performance. That's between myself, Graham McGinn, and the authority's statistician for education, Gordon Pearson. So that's been undertaken in over several years, and we obviously give the school areas for improvement in terms of that raising attainment and achievement, which is the particular QI. If you do mean a school visit in terms of going into classes, etc., that's the domain of the secondary school to actually undertake, given the size and scope of the secondary school. We are developing a model for that, and in fact I think Loudon have one just coming up, and the one that we're talking about for Doon is also coming up. So we have a very well established primary model, given that previously, members, you'll know there was significant concerns in the authority about variation in primary inspections specifically, and we had a huge number of schools previously in follow through in the primary sector. So clearly what we've done is take the best of the learning from the primary model, and we've now developed a secondary model. But the domain for quality improvement in terms of visiting classes, etc., because of the range of subjects, etc., I don't have a big enough team to go out and look at French and technical, etc. So that thrust always sits very much with the secondary head in that regard, to organise it through the ranks of teachers that exist within a secondary school setting. So from class teacher to PT to deputy head, etc., PT's pupil support. So we have taken the best of that primary model. If you're talking about a team going in to look, we have taken the best of that. But in addition to that, the secondaries have further scrutiny via both the initial review of their attainment and destinations and the national reviews that come through as well. So the last visit to Doon, and indeed prior to that, is no less than 6 months ago.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, Linda, for summarising all of that. And just to sort of re-clarify it, of course, the model that our in-house model that we've developed as far as the primary schools are concerned has been extremely effective. And I recollect that over the number of years that I've sat on GNS committee, almost every meeting, going back sort of what, 7 years or so, regularly there were HMIE reports that were not particularly good or could have been considerably better. And we've come a huge way since then, which I think is probably a sort of added blow to us that this one isn't where it should be. Just to put that into some kind of context. Thank you. Are there any further questions in relation to Dean Academy? Yeah, Councillor Canning, yes.
Just a more general point. Obviously, there's been a huge publicity about inspections the other side of the border. Do we have any challenges like that? Are we seeking to learn from that? We just have a very quick summary, because obviously I'm sure we could spend a long time.
It's an incredibly good question, Councillor Canning, I think, for all of us and everyone in the school community. When an inspection is announced, as soon as that letter comes through or the email comes through, the stress starts then. I think that's exactly what you're referring to. So ultimately we have a programme in place to support heads from the very delivery of said note right through to the during and the after that process. Indeed, we've got one coming up next week where we're heavily involved in supporting the school and the head teacher through that. I think also, Councillor Canning, I think it would be important to note that where an inspection isn't positive as well, and clearly, again, members have identified that in the case of QI 3.2, that's not a positive evaluation, then clearly we also offer our heads pastoral support too. So ultimately, there's really two aims of the support. That's to embrace the school community at this time and give them the support that they need, because clearly some of these can come as rather crushing blows to school communities at large, but also given the commentary you made around about that case, which was incredibly tragic down south, there's also that need to understand that a whole school contributes to an inspection, and it's not just one person. So we're very clear about shouldering that with our heads where it's a non-positive piece, but also sharing, as you'll hear in the next report, but also how do we mobilise the good news when it's a positive report as well. So I think to give you some reassurance, Councillor Canning, what I would say is, where a colleague is part of a more negative report, both that pastoral and professional support, so the professional support for the school per se, but also that pastoral support for the individual and team who may be feeling a bit vulnerable on the back of that. So a really nice question. Thanks, Councillor Canning.
That's good. So there is stuff we can do as a council around that. So
absolutely. And the thing is, having most of my team having been head teachers or deputies, we're still close enough to understand that it's something people do take really personally. So it's very difficult, and I'm quite sure that, again, Education Scotland and the national bodies have also had significant training around about the support that they offer, and indeed the ways in which the messaging is delivered to heads, which clearly down in England, where Ofsted were concerned, clearly didn't land very well with that particularly tragically lost head teacher.
Thank you very much, Linda, and also Councillor Canning for raising that one. Really, really important points. So if we move on to the next item on the agenda, which is item number 8, Nether Robertland, and Jacqueline for Linda. Sorry.
So thanks, Councillor Cogley. I'm going to do the preamble to the report, if that's okay.
Yep.
And I'm then going to bring Jackie in from paragraph 21 onwards in regards to the findings of the report. So members, you'll find clear similarities between this report and the last report in terms of structure. Clearly, we ask that in recommendation 2 that you note the publication of the Nether Robertland Primary School report, clearly to congratulate the children and young people and staff on the achievements herein, and to note the next step and the contents of this report, members. Members, paragraphs 3 through 7 are exactly the same as the previous report. These outline the aims of inspection and what inspection intends to do, and can I clarify that in this particular case that Nether Robertland was subject to the full model, and therefore members 4 quality indicators, which again are explained in the context of how good is our school for in paragraph 8. Also members, again just highlighting the inspection process. and that's outlined in paragraphs 9 through 12, as well, members, as the Care Inspectorate piece in regards to any school which has a built-in ECC. That's not the case for Nether Robertland. As you know, it has a separate ECC. So Jackie is not bringing you 2 reports today. It's the one for the primary school that you have with you today, members. Members, in regards to Councillor Cogley and Councillor Canning's comments in respect of the primary school quality improvement visits, we've added some narrative here in paragraphs 14 through 17 that explain that programme of planned visits to our primary schools, which is ongoing every week that our schools are actually open. Clearly in paragraph 14, you'll see here that the purpose of the visit is to provide assurance that schools have plans and appropriate systems and processes in place to raise achievement and close the attainment gap. Clearly to validate where the school feels it is. Self-evaluation is clearly a huge issue for our schools, and knowing where you are. So our team would go out, and that's also including a fellow head teacher from another primary school in East Ayrshire, to validate where the school thinks they are and the journey that they're on, clearly to engage with parents, identify strengths, which I hope you'll see today, identifying any recurring areas identified for improvement, but support the ongoing professional development of heads and deputy heads to share effective practice across schools, and also to support, and again, Councillor Canning, to support head teacher wellbeing via the ongoing engagement with the quality improvement team via the collaborative networks that then develop. In paragraph 15, members, we highlight where we are in that quality improvement cycle. We're in year 2 of a 3-year cycle. We don't see all the schools every year, or I don't think any of us would be at any of these meetings because we would always be out in schools, but ultimately we're coming towards the end of year 2 of a 3-year cycle. 25 of 39 primary schools visited to date since November 22, and I'd like to express my thanks here, members, to Graham McGinn and the teams who've been organising these visits, attending them, and engaging so well with the schools on these, as well as my head teachers involved. Following a primary school improvement visit, feedback is provided to the head teacher, and again, following and mirroring the procedures from Education Scotland, if there is a need for a follow-up visit, we also undertake those. In paragraph 17, members, following the conclusion of the cycle of visits, once all the cycle of visits have been completed, a similar cycle of visits will then resume. So it's a bit like the Forth Road Bridge. We go again in that regard in paragraph 17, that cycle would then recommence. Members, in paragraph 18 through 20, we make specific reference to a quality improvement visit that was held for Nether Robertland. That was held in April 2023, involved central education officers and 2 primary head teachers as part of our quality improvement work across schools. The visit identified the significant strengths of the school and also provided advice and guidance on a small number of areas for improvement in relation to effective self-evaluation and achieving a consistent understanding across the school of what high quality learning, teaching and assessment has looked like. In paragraph 20, really delighted to have Jackie here with us, who's able to make those connections between her work as head teacher and the work of her staff, the engagement in the learning visit, which they did so readily, and indeed pass on to Jackie for the actual narrative around about the Nether Robertland Primary School Inspection Chair through you. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Paragraph 21, my school was inspected week beginning the 22nd of January 2004, and we were inspected using the full inspection model. I'm delighted to share that we were graded very good across all 4 quality indicators: 1.3 leadership of change, 2.3 learning, teaching and assessment, 2.1 ensuring wellbeing, equality and inclusion, and 3.2 raising attainment and achievement. Also wanted to share that they also explored quality indicators 2.2 and 2.7, which you don't get graded on, but we got really positive feedback on those 2, which was lovely. Paragraph 23, the inspection found the following strengths in our work. I wanted to highlight within those, 4 key points that were identified there, that every single strength that was identified by Education Scotland were strengths that we had already highlighted as a school. We highlighted during the self-evaluation summary meeting that our strengths are our children, the leadership in the school, the positive relationships, the effective partnership working, wellbeing, inclusion and attainment. And we were very proud to say that they also saw that. So the strengths are our children are respectful, polite and confident. They are very proud of their school, work well together and enact the school values in everyday life. They enjoy a wide range of opportunities to develop leadership skills through a variety of committees and groups. This helps children to develop skills for learning, life and work. And there will be a continued focus on the vision and values moving forward. That will be a next step in relation to visions. Since I took out post, which is 3 years come August, there has been a continued focus on our vision and values, and that was seen by the inspectors. Strong leadership by the head teacher and deputy head teacher, ably supported by principal teachers. I have 2 permanent principal teachers and 1 acting principal teacher at the moment. Senior leaders provide a clear direction and strategy for continuous school improvement based on the values and vision for that encourages children to achieve their best. The wellbeing and inclusion of children, that is central to all work carried out in the school. Staff model positive and respectful relationships. They use creative and nurturing approaches to support all children to feel included in the life of the school. And the very effective staff team who provide quality learning experiences for children. This is supported by their motivation and approach to professional learning. Staff utilise robust monitoring processes and very effective partnership working well to improve children's learning, attendance and well-being. As a result, children are attaining and achieving well. Paragraph 24. The inspection also highlighted areas where continued improvement could be made. Senior leaders should ensure the whole school community are involved in the development and delivery of key priorities, and the main improvements made over recent years should be reviewed and embedded. And I'll go on to that point a little bit further when we look at next steps, because that's very much linked to that. Teachers should continue to ensure that all children receive appropriate challenge in their learning. This should raise attainment further and ensure all children make the best possible progress. I thought since we're talking about the sort of improvement that's needed at the school, it would be a good time to come in with our next steps, and happy to expand on those if anyone would like to hear more. So from the inspection report, our next steps are to consider ways to widen whole school consultation. We are currently undertaking a refresh of our respectful relationship policy, and at the moment we're carefully planning to ensure that the whole school community are involved. We always involve our pupils, our parents and our staff, and as many partners as possible. We are going to continue to expand on the number of partners that engage with consultation. So at the moment, the respectful relationship one's taking place. Our next one's homework, and then after that we'll be looking at our school improvement plan consultation, and it will just be that continued focus on as many partners as possible having a voice in that process. Sharing of vision and values with the wider community. Our next step there is to make our wider community aware of what our new vision is, which is learn today, lead tomorrow. Further development of How Good Is Our School, which is our pupil self-evaluation document. We are going to review and build on what we already do to ensure that children's meaningful involvement is there with improvement planning in all aspects of school life. Inspectors recognise that pace of change has been brisk since myself taking over as head teacher. They also emphasised that that was absolutely appropriate, timely and required. However, they have shared that this requires to be monitored to ensure meaningful involvement by the whole school community to ensure greatest impact. There have been many improvements over the years, but they have recommended that we review what is happening in our school at the moment, improving on what we're already doing and embedding. So I think that was kind of code for breathe. Take your time and do what you're doing because we're doing it well, which was lovely to hear from myself as head teacher. Really quite still a new head teacher to, get that from them, that it's okay to not continue to, go really quickly. The focus on high quality learning and teaching will continue. We will be focusing on ensuring that all children receive appropriate challenge in their learning. That was highlighted as something we should build upon. There is good practice, but we need to build upon it more. We need to increase opportunities for children to lead their own learning, develop assessment approaches. Not only our assessment approaches were commended in literacy, numeracy and health and wellbeing, they would like to see that be developed across all curricular areas, and we will be working on that. We will continue to have a relentless focus on improving teacher pedagogy by continued prioritising of that within our school improvement plan, linking that with continued professional learning opportunities for our whole school community, our teaching staff, our pupils, our support staff, absolutely everyone within our school community, and working in partnership with our quality improvement officers in particularly literacy and numeracy to improve pedagogy. We also have a follow-up learning visit in May this year, which I know was a bit of a surprise to me. It's not long after our inspection, but it really is just where are you? What are your next steps? And where do you need to go next? And also, do you need any support for that to take place? So that's very much welcomed as a continuous quality assurance process. And continued partnership working to ensure all staff are skilled in supporting children with more complex additional support needs. The inspectors noted that we have a high number of, still a minority, but higher number of children within mainstream primary who would normally be in specialist placements within our school, and they felt that we support them really well, but there needed to be a bit more focused support on how we meet the needs of those children with significant needs. And that is something that we are already doing and will continue to do through engagement with our educational psychologists, other partners, through enhanced training opportunities for all staffs, through inclusion provision, through nurture, and all of those things that ensures that we meet the needs of our learners. Paragraph 25, inspectors reported that they are confident that the school has capacity to continue to improve and will make no further visits in connection, so no more visits. Paragraph 26, the school will build on the strengths and address the areas for continued improvement via ongoing school improvement activity. And paragraph 27, as part of the ongoing commitment to improvement within the education service, myself will share my experience at a head teachers meeting coming up very soon, to share my experience so that other my colleagues can hear about our experience at Nether Robertland and hopefully be able to share some good practice and advice. The focus for that will be on scrutiny of data and sharing of data, which is a massive part of the inspection process. Thank you.
Thank you very much and well done. And that's a great report to hear. And I guess the biggest challenge for you is when you've improved something so much is how you sustain and then lift that a little bit higher. That's quite a big challenge, isn't it? And any questions? No questions. Any questions online? No. No. Well done and good luck with taking that forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want to come in any more?
No, just again, thank you, Chair, but just wanted to say a massive thank you to Martin and Jackie in terms of being here for the respective reports today. Clearly looking forward. Jackie will be back in here on Monday, actually doing that particular report. So when she said it was very soon, it's in the next couple of days. She'll be sharing some of that, and we, again, hugely grateful to Martin in accepting the role of acting head at Doon, and indeed for the work that's already been noted by members this morning. So I'd just like to thank both my head teachers for attending today. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Oh.
No, Chair, fine in the report. I just wondered, before you go to the next item, just as a matter of housekeeping, I don't know if members are of a view to have a wee break or whether you want to plough on. You're making very good progress. There's still 4 items to go. I don't know. It's entirely up to you and members if you want a break or not.
I think that's a very good idea. Should we just have a 10-minute break? Is that, in order for everybody? Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you.